What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? You feeling upbeat? You know, the moon's in Leo, and I really do enjoy this lunation. I think that this is a great time to just fuel the things that just bring us to life, that light us up. This is a very fun placement for the moon, and I think especially with the relationship that she's in with the sun right now, who's exalted, strong, almighty. This is a great time to just really get in the flow and then really keep adding more energy to those things. But we'll talk about all that here in a moment. If you're new here, again, my name is Justin. And know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. But this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placements, sun, moon, rising, wherever. This one's for you. And I do tarot cards, friends, based on that lovely luminary, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going board of courses, all them lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Because, yeah, we got some interesting energies to talk about here today. I kind of like where your general energy's at. Yeah, overall, the tone is smooth. we're liking this moon in Leo. But before we jump into that, depending on when you're watching this, happy Saturn Day. Let's get serious for a moment. Saturn is associated with Saturday. And even though this is normally the time where you're thinking like, woo, Saturday, you can do that after you get all your stuff done. if there's anything that you've been putting off, I find, especially during like Saturn hours, if I've been like really particularly procrastinating for a while, like really deep in it, and I see a Saturn hour coming through, it's like, oh, let me get it together. Saturn's coming through. So, and actually, fun fact, I was born during a Saturn hour, so I really try to pay attention to that when I see when that hour comes by. But those can be just some ways. It's a great thing. I find a great energy for if you need to do any sort of like arduous task, anything that requires a lot of you, that requires maybe a lot of patience, things like that. I think Saturn is a great one to work with in those things in order so that you can get ahead and then again and enjoy your leisure time because you've earned it, you deserved it, you put in the work, and that's how Saturn rewards. So, and another way that I like to kind of work with these days are thinking about my relationship with Saturn. How do I do with Saturn transits? How do I feel? How do I relate to my Saturn placement, the house that it's in, the sign that it's in. And I'll even look at my Saturn return chart. That's something I've been looking at different return charts, and that's been a very useful bit of information that I've been collecting. You look at the charts in such a different way. I've been enjoying that. So, but that's a personal thing that I like doing. So if you happen to have all those points and times and things, explore that. It can be very, very useful information. But let's get into the lunar shenanigans. Because on the 5th of April, the moon is going to enter into Leo at about 9:35 p.m. And that's going to be Pacific time. And she's in a waxing gibbous phase now. And this is when the moon is starting to, we're getting full now. We're getting closer to getting full at least. She's usually, the sky's starting, is particularly lit here. And that's an exciting time. We're getting closer to that complete fullness, the beauty that is the moon. And so the gibbous is where, again, you see movement. This is where, especially right now, this is when the sun and the moon are going to be trine one another. And trines are great for their most beneficial aspect. They're moving things along there. And you got that in your general energy. There's a talk about that. So I would really look into the things again that fuel you up, that is your soul calling, and then channel more time, energy, resources into that and see where that really kind of takes you off, what avenues that open up for you. I know we have like our everyday things that we're doing, but there's more time available to us than I think we give ourselves credit for sometimes. Because when you think about Leo is the fixed fire sign. They're active or yang in nature. Their ruler is the sun. So I feel like Leo energy, and this is just in general, really can't appreciate the moment. It's that, with that being that fixed fire, it's the will concentrated, which is the sun. That's the Leo is that pure expression of will in a sense. And that, again, will again, to be able to be focused. So I find it's like when you focus on the things that light you up. I'd like to think of Leo as an oven. What are you putting in that oven? What are you wanting to cook with that? And the more that you nurture that fire and that flame, is just going to keep producing great things. I keep picturing pizza. So it reminds me of those sort of like ovens there. So be aware of the things that you're putting in there. What ingredients are you adding? How long are you leaving it in there? How much time are you giving it? Is it something that you need to cook real fast or under intense heat, or do you need to put it in there, put it back, take it out a little bit, put it in there? We're talking metaphorically here. So I think that this is too just making times for just fun, for just enjoying yourself, appreciating the little things that just kind of fuel you up. I think that's another great way of working with Leo, so it can keep that energy inspired. And in that inspires other people. That's what I really enjoy about Leo energy too. I think that there's something when they are in their vibration, people can't help but notice that and attract that, and be like attracted to that and want to experience that themselves. There is a divine aspect to Leo being ruled by the sun. So this is a great time, I feel, with the moon, and to get in touch with source. The connection is smooth. It's smooth, it's easy. So it's like let's milk that for all it's worth here. But yeah, I think that's all I pretty much got on the lunar shenanigans here. So let's go ahead and get into your general energy of the day. Now, I know with the title you may be thinking, Justin, how are we going to be doing all this stuff when your general energy of the day is hexagram 55, which with the book that I'm reading, and this is by the way, is by Kirsten Huang. I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, but I'm using the translations from there, and so yeah, this hexagram 45 translates into illness. But the nice thing about this is that your changing lines are line 4 and line 5, so those are going to be the ones we're focusing on today. So, and I invite you, I have a link down in the description box. I think it's under like Taoist I Ching or something like that. The translations will be a little different as far as like the title, but the hexagrams are all the same. The hexagrams and the changing line text are all the same. So check that out. Meditate on those things. See how you feel about them. I find that you can get a lot of useful information again out of that stuff. But let's start with line 4, and this is a really easy one. Line 4 talks about great fortune, period. No troubles. So we're just talking abundance and ease. But I just don't think that it's just something that's falling out of the sky. The general energy, it is coming from an illness. So this, I feel like, is doing when you're not feeling well, you do things to take care of yourself. You're very intentional with how you're treating the body. You're getting enough rest, you're hydrating more, you're doing extra things. We're working with different medicines and things like that. But I think that there's something here about not just doing it when you're ill. I'm a big fan of just preventative maintenance, and I think then that can be just more than just your health. I would definitely advise that if that's something that is, and it's not medical advice or anything, but talk with your doctors if that's something that has been coming up, because maybe there is more than just a physical component to it. Maybe there is a more, not feeling fulfilled. The body is trying to find ways of it, of communicating through you, and maybe the wires are being mismatched right now. But I find like if you can just tune into, this is an intuitive feeling. This is not something where, I hope that this makes sense. Like I think that it's something when you make those little things a routine. Because that's what I find that Leo energy does. You find the thing that lights you up, and then when we go into Virgo, it's just like, okay, how do I put this into, put this to use, put this to practical application here so that I can keep reaping these benefits, these great fortunes here. So again, whether it's the body or if it's in some sort of endeavor that you're wanting to do, whether you want to start up, this is the time, we're in a great time for that, for trying to get any sort of things off the ground right now that you've been wanting to explore, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be something you've been exploring for years. It could be just some sort of recent thing that comes up for you. Try to see where that leads you, especially if it lights you up. Now, the next line is line 5, which talks about ailing in office, no blame. Rather than penalty, great fortune comes. Regret forever disappears. And, when I'm thinking this ailing in office, we're feeling troubled. Maybe we've been feeling like that we haven't been in charge. Because when we're thinking of office, I'm thinking about who's running this ship. Who is the one, like, are you in because listen, again, I get where we have our responsibilities and things, but we have a soul responsibility here, and that's where I think this office is talking about. How are you being a leader of this office, of whatever your dreams are? And there's no blame about any things that have maybe been getting in the way. Maybe you've been busy with kids, maybe with work, maybe with your home, whatever this may be. But rather than penalizing yourself and being in this place where we're maybe regretting having put more time into something or whatever, we can take this time now. There's no time like the present to start doing whatever that thing is that's maybe been ailing you as of late. That's been maybe on your mind, is what I'm really getting with this. This energy to me too could even be where if you've been maybe overworking. I think that there's something here where taking some time off, maybe if it's not a physical thing, maybe it is a mental thing. Maybe you've been feeling like you've been working a lot, and again, you haven't been able to spend time maybe enough with your kids, or maybe with your partner or your spouse or your pets, or maybe just being your home space, maybe with yourself. You haven't had enough time to have any personal thing. And again, this is not a time to just like beat yourself up. We all have these things that we're balancing here, but great fortune can be ours, and as again, and then I think that again, this is just instead of regretting something, it's like, okay, let's turn regret into what can I learn from this regret, so I can turn it into wisdom, so that I don't keep doing this in the future, so I don't keep perpetuating the problem. I think regret is something that continues if we just if we fuel it, if we give it that energy there. So I think that's something that we'll definitely kind of get into as we're kind of switching over to the tarot. So, but yeah, that's basically all I got for you, I think, on that one there. But yeah, let's go ahead and switch over to the tarot here. And just one last thing here. These readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situations. Now, when it comes to the tarot, I'm going to be pulling 6 cards, and considering that your changing lines were 4 and 5, I'm going to get clarifiers for cards 4 and 5. So we're going to start off with the first card here, obviously, which is going to be the short-term money matters or anything, but keep in mind this isn't like financial advice or anything like that. Let's see what's going on with the monies. Oh, look at the Queen of Swords. Oh, you got the Queen of Swords here. And I think, what I'm really kind of feeling with this Queen of Swords here is seeing things clearly. Again, that thing that you want to invest in yourself, and then start putting more energy towards that stuff, investing more time. And all it doesn't have to be big investments. This is short-term stuff we're thinking about. So maybe you've wanted to learn an instrument. So maybe you just take at least maybe 10 minutes a day and just start learning. Maybe you haven't gotten the instrument yet. This could be a great time. Maybe you want to start learning the scales, wanting to start maybe doing some oral training where you're starting to listen to, okay, what's G or what's B flat? That's the one I remember offhand. But, just like things like that. And I think that as you get to do those things, it just feels like the energy's it's just like something just starts piecing together. The vision becomes a lot clearer here. I also am getting with the Queen of Swords that she's looking at where she's maybe been putting her resources, where maybe things have been. Maybe it's like where she's maybe been pouring her resources to dealing with the stuff that she's ailing with, possibly here. Where she's feeling a bit out of balance. And it's like in order to get to this state of, great fortune, abundance, and things, I think there's something here, some things you may have to cut out here. So that might be something that we're looking at as well there. I think that's going to kind of flow over into the medical matters. Let's get a card on that and see what's going on with the. Oh yeah, that's going to be your second card, which is medical matters. But this is not going to be any sort of like medical advice or anything like that. Oh, yeah, look at that. Things are moving. You got the Chariot here. And, I think that this could be one. Maybe this is like seeing a direction plan as far as, okay, like I know how if this is like maybe you're having to do some sort of like maybe you're recovering from an injury and it's like, okay, I'm seeing this is where I'm going to need to do, this is going to help me get into the shape that I need to get into and possibly better. You may be even able to take, let's say if you have to go through physical therapy. After that practice is done, you can still carry that over into, you could explore maybe even new exercises is what I'm even thinking. That's just like a kind of basic example of what this Chariot is bringing, is kind of giving me here. I am getting an energy of maybe for medical matters, maybe needing to travel to a certain type of place, maybe traveling to where things, because I'm thinking about in the Rider-Waite Smith deck, the Queen of Swords is usually above some clouds. So maybe this is maybe journeying into some sort of like high altitude places, if that resonates, going into the mountains or something like that to get maybe some fresh air or something along those lines. That's another energy that's kind of coming through, especially if you've been ailing. You don't want to get to this place where you regret wanting to, like, man, I wish I would have taken more time to this. I don't think anyone's going to look back and think, man, I wish I would have worked more. Well, you know what, maybe. You know what, maybe. Let me not say that. But I think that, yeah, whatever this is, I think that there's it's something that can maybe heal, like it just even get you in alignment in like a mind, body, soul type of thing as well. Really feeling in the groove of yourself. But I think that it's just like that ailing in office. That's the only sort of like thing that's kind of, yeah, something's needed to be tended to there. Let's get to your third card, which talks about any sort of like legal matters and social affairs, but keep in mind this isn't legal advice. Talk to your lawyers. Talk to the Queen of Swords. It just does something real smart. Oh, interesting. So you got the Two of Cups here. That's really nice. You know what? I definitely am getting like a relationship vibe as far as like maybe going to the next level. Maybe we're thinking about. This is giving me more marriage sort of things, or just like a deepening of a union. If this is not like getting the law involved, that this could be where you're both just making this kind of conscious steps here. You're seeing this. It feels like there's a movement that's happening maybe in some sort of way. Or maybe this could be where a business partnership is coming through there. And look at you just real tight. Like things like feeling like you're able to bounce ideas off of each other very well. Seeing where the vision is going here. This Chariot is really giving me, there's not a lot of stress with this Chariot. As far as like when the medical matters go, this could be just like getting things going again. And that might be something too with the social affairs. If there has been a lot of stress, if things haven't been moving in the direction of the Chariot and you're not sure what that is, again, look at where you've been investing your time, been investing your resources. And this could be going out and hanging with different types of people. Maybe if you've been a bit of a hermit, that might be where you, again, just like, maybe if you're not socializing, just again, being amongst people, having that sense of community. And then who knows, maybe you'll feel compelled to participate in things as well, and maybe someone will maybe Queen of Swords just spot you. I see Queen of Swords just spotting you in the festival. Razor like focus. But just calm down, girl. But yeah, and you know what too, I am getting this energy of, if someone does invite you out, explore something different. It may do you well. Try traveling somewhere where maybe you haven't been before is an energy that's coming through there as well. What's the worst case? You don't like it or whatever, but at least you got a chance to experience something. At least you don't ever wonder like, well, what if I would have gone? Then you're sitting there. Just something I think to think about there. Now let's talk about romantic matters. Let's see what's going on. The next card is going to be about romantic matters and marriage, and we'll get a clarifier on this one. Oh, yeah, we will. Wow. So you got the Tower here. And you know what? This could be where there's shock. It might be the proposal. Maybe it's happening in a place. Maybe you're getting out of your chariot, and then the person's like waiting right there just to propose, and then before you're getting ready to go into dinner. Wouldn't that be romantic? Or maybe that's an idea for you. Just something to consider. But this could be where maybe you're just looking at where a foundation needs to be rebuilt, possibly with the Tower. Maybe there has been some things that have been a little off. Maybe something's been ailing you as of late, and you just need to get it off your chest. Just like there's no blame, there's no penalty. I think the only kind of regret would be if you held this thing in. And letting something fester, because then it'll come out in a different sort of way, but the context of the situation won't make sense, and then it'll create this sort of storm here. It creates this disharmony and discord, and we want concord with this energy here. We want great fortune and no troubles. So that's very interesting there. Let's get a clarifier on that Tower. But you know what? The Tower is just Mars energy. Oh, and interesting. That's Mars in Cancer. So that we have Mars in Cancer here. So that might be something where too maybe you want to look to see where Mars has been transiting for you with Cancer, depending on when you're coming across this video. Maybe you happen to have Mars in Cancer, dealing with a Mars in Cancer type there. But let's get a clarifier with the Tower. Oh, interesting. So you got the Four of Cups here. And you know what? It really feels like maybe something has gotten maybe even a little stagnant here. And this might be, the Tower might just be an energy of, again, needing to shake something up a little bit. Maybe you're looking for a little more spontaneity, a little more fire, a little more passion. Possibly here. That might be something that's coming up there. Or, I would just be mindful again about not caring or pretending that you don't, because if this is a feeling that's been coming up for you for a while there, I wouldn't let that sit too long, because after the Four of Cups comes the Five of Cups, which is a very martial card. Talk about the Tower being here. This is a very lunar card. This is the Moon in Cancer. And so I think it's understanding, too, just even thinking about that. Water is a tricky one with the fours to keep still. The fours are usually stability, but water needs to eventually, and all the energies eventually need to flow and change, but the Moon in Cancer absolutely has to change at some point. The crab gets too big for its shell, and then it has to move. That might be something. Maybe you're thinking your relationship is moving. Maybe you're actually literally moving somewhere. That might be another thing that's coming up there. Maybe there's a little anxiety about that possibly here, but just talk about that, and get a game plan, get clarity, and yeah, things will turn out there. So just something, keep eyes on that. I wouldn't ignore any sort of things that maybe have been kind of pent up. Find a constructive way, I think, to talk about your feelings. Venus is in Pisces, Mercury's in Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces. So responsible, but the energies is available for it, and I think really supports that at this time. So let's get to your next card here, which talks about any sort of immediately pressing affairs. Ooh, I'm with it. So you have the Nine of Cups here. This to me, I think that this is thinking about one, I think, what does what are some changes I think that you want to be done? What are some things that you wish could improve right now? Again, wherever you've been maybe ailing in office, where you maybe been feeling like, yeah, something is like something's building up. It's like, what can I do to be in this energy of good fortune? Possibly is what I'm getting. Like it's a because this the nine of cups is like the wish, what do you wish for, and like really kind of feeling like what could that, how can I go about getting to that thing. That's what it's like. That's interesting for you immediately pressing like happiness, like it's like some like or it's like wishing that something, and maybe that's what it is. It's like changing a way about maybe how you're wishing, or wanting something to manifest. Instead, it's like, I don't want this here. I want more of this. I think just maybe even changing how you go about the calling of thing, the attracting of the wish maybe could change something up here. But let's get a clarifier on this one with this nine of cups here. Interesting. So you have the art card here, which is the temperance card. And there's something, it feels like we're trying, because you see there's a lot of opposites that are going on here, but they're working as one. And this to me is maybe you're having this wish, you're having this thing, and it's like, how do you make both lives happen here? It's like maybe even going back to the social affairs here, maybe you've been having more of an internal dialogue, more of a just kind of you and spirit kind of communing there. And it's just like you have this, you feel this, maybe this calling here. Oops. You feel this calling here that you're wanting to create, that you're wanting to kind of alchemize here, but it's just like how to keep that balance. It's just like there's always something maybe that's in the way, but I feel like where there's this will, there is a way. And I know that's a bit of a trite kind of statement, but I do, that's what I'm really kind of getting with this thing. In order to keep the wish, it's having that and then holding that energy, doing things to keep that energy sustainable while things are changing. Because this is the art card of Sagittarius, and the energies are, you have this wish that's meaning you're wanting to move the energy. And this, even the Nine of Cups, there's a lot of Jupiter energy here, this abundant pocket. This is the Nine of Cups is Jupiter in Pisces. And so this to me is the great fortune right here. This to me is where, I mean, this whole thing is pretty much really, really, really nice here. But it's looking at maybe the changes that maybe been done. Because even thinking with the romantic matters, if you're not in a relationship right now, this could be just even looking at your general relationships. Maybe something is needing to change. Maybe there's been this sort of base thing, and we're wishing for something more, or maybe to be exposed to, like exposed to something different. Something maybe opposite of something that can maybe challenge you in some sort of way to wish bigger. That's interesting. I'm getting a lot from that. But I am getting there is no time like the present to be manifesting this wish, to be figuring out what ingredients that you're needing to add to this cauldron. What are some things that, are going to be able to bring that thing into being. So now let's talk about the last card here, which is going to be the destiny or the karma, which is just the results of the consequences of actions and things, choices. And I like that. So you have the Ace of Coins here. And this to me, the destiny is there's an opportunity here again to start up something new. To make something materialize with the Ace of Coins, whatever that is for you. But to keep in mind, the aces are only potential. There's a potential here for for great fortune to come. But I think, again, we got to look at what's maybe ailing in the office, what's keeping you maybe from taking charge, or in It's something along those lines there. I'm even getting, just because there's a lot of insects kind of hovering around this card, that maybe there's something too, like while you're getting this idea together, let's not have too many hands in the kitchen. Like let's keep it kind of, maybe kind of to those close ones who are going to help again motivate you, who you really kind of trust there, who are going to help nurture the idea with that Two of Cups here, who will give you advice to help you move, not to slow your chariot down. But yeah, definitely a chance here with this over these next, I think, over a couple days with the moon being here to really get something going here. We're learning from that first quarter, and yeah, just something I think to is something I think to meditate on there. But let's get some advice from the sun. Nice. All right, so you got the Four of Wands here, and let's go ahead and switch over, because when we're dealing with the Four of Wands, I do get a going into like uncharted territory here. Because it's like maybe, for, when I was talking about marriage, maybe you got into the place where it's like we're in the marriage phase and it's like, now what? Now just things are kind of just getting into the day to day thing again. That's one thing that I'm getting. Or maybe this is just something where it's been like a couple of years. Maybe it's been, and it's just like, maybe this could be like even where we're thinking about renewing some sort of vows here, or just even just like engaging, just like having just like a heart to heart maybe with someone is what I'm really kind of getting with this Four of Wands here. But I also get with this is that something is wanting to come to, again, coming to completion, or wanting to, it's like celebrating the start of a new chapter, I think, even, or just like a big, like a milestone in this, in maybe just this lunation. It could be a milestone in life here, but I would say, if this is, I'm getting like if you've been thinking about some sort of like, especially some sort of like proposal, if this is sort of for marriage, or maybe like a business contract or something, I think that it's worth, because Four of Wands, that's Venus and Aries. That's Emperor and Empress energy when you kind of break that down. And so that's, yeah, something's coming together here. There's a lot of, I think, support for that in this reading. All right, but that's all I got for you there. A little something to think about. But if you like that, or if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this if you know somebody who could get some nuggets of wisdom from this. And then subscribe to UTower. Chariot, I'll just call you a chariot. I like that better. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And then I'm going to get your surprise card or cards here. But if you want to work with the other celestial bodies, the Sun, Mars, then in the description box, there's a link for my other channel, Alchemist 8, where I do weekly videos that come out every Mercury day. That's on a Wednesday, talking about the transits. And you can see what signs the planets are in the Sun are traveling in. And just to know where you're looking your chart, and just how to work more intentionally with the energies, how to bring those down, how to bring the cosmos down into an everyday sort of application in life. And then I'm also doing these series where I talk about different signs and different planets, or excuse me, different planets and different signs and different houses. So, and I have them all by playlist there, so if you want to check out your placement, it's meant to just like invoke some thoughts, to give you thinking about some, maybe think about your placements, or if you're new to astrology, think about some ways to think about your placement when you're working with this thing. So if that's something that resonates there, that's all there for you. But let's go. You got two cards here, so let's get into your surprise cards here. I love that. So you have the Festival card here, where you're kind of tying off that Four of Wands, and then you have the Protect card here. And with that Protect card, I really think that if and really feel that if this going towards this great fortune, whatever that is, that is protected. How would you move knowing that you are, and that I don't, I don't particularly like that. Moving, it's like the idea is there, it's protected, it's in the vessel, so it's like now it's a time to get that out there. That's interesting. It's, maybe you're worried about maybe failing or like what's going to happen to this thing, but know that it's you want, if you're wanting to protect this thing, so it's gonna, this thing is safe, you know. And I'm even getting to where if you're nervous about maybe like you're wanting to get married possibly or do this proposal, but maybe you're not sure if they're going to reject this. It's like, when maybe not doing it because you want to protect your heart, or maybe even just like asking someone out. I'm not like, I think that there's, you may be missing out on heartache, but you might be missing out on festivals too, on enjoyment, on fulfillment, on who knows what that looks like. Do you want to look back and think like, man, I really wish I would have done this and such, but that's just something to think about. I don't think, never let the stuff tell you what to do, but I do think too there is a time of jubilation is in the air with this energy here. Yeah, but that's all I got for you. Nice little note to end on. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep eyes on that moon. And I will catch you on the next one. Oh, speaking of Mars, Mars Day.